You're listening to Self-Conscious with Chrissy Teigen, an Audible original podcast. Join me as we explore the cutting edge of health, wellness, and personal growth with the world's leading experts and thinkers. From inspiring stories to actionable insights, our conversations aim to help you lead a healthier, happier, and more productive life. What if the biggest thing standing between you and the life you want isn't discipline? It's not time, it's not luck, it's your feelings. I know that sounds dramatic, but my guest today, Dr. Marc Brackett, says it's actually science. Marc runs the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence and wrote Dealing with Feeling to help us understand what our emotions are trying to tell us. He says emotions aren't problems, they tell us what matters, what's missing, and what needs to change. His big idea? The quality of your life depends on how well you deal with your emotions. And here's the good news. It's a skill. You can learn it. We'll talk about his tools, things like the mood meter and the meta moment. They'll help you pause, name what you're feeling, and respond like your best self. We'll also get into why stuffing your feelings never works, and how a little self-compassion can make you stronger, not softer. Because when you learn to deal with feeling, you don't just change your mood, you change your life. Dr. Marc Brackett, welcome to Self-Conscious. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited for this chat today because we were speaking about a war on feelings. Do you feel that America is kind of experiencing a war on feelings?
Well, it's gotten worse now.
Yeah.
And, we work a lot in schools around the United States. We're in 5,000 schools teaching emotional intelligence, but we've seen pushback
including
now.
My own.
That's right.
Yes.
We see pushback now. We see superintendents sending us emails saying, I'm sorry, Marc, but our teachers are prohibited from talking to kids about their feelings and even asking them how they feel.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Well, some schools have like full mood meters.
Exactly.
Which I love so much. Like a kid comes in, if you've ever seen anything like this, it'll be like a little poster on the door and they walk in and the teacher's like, you want to tell me your mood today? And they point to something, whether it's a face or the actual word itself. And some schools are so open to that.
Exactly. And we know from the research that it's helpful.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that giving kids self-awareness, a vocabulary to talk about their feelings, and importantly, strategies to regulate their feelings, like that's a life skill that we all need.
That's so wild. We have said before on the show, I have a really hard time knowing how I feel. Like I obviously feel feelings, but I have a really difficult time assigning words to my feelings. I even got this feelings app, like my therapist suggested that I get it. And
which, by the way, is my app.
What? Stop it!
Yes, I co-created that. It's called How We Feel.
Yeah, that's so funny. Things pop up on it, and sometimes seeing the word helps.
Yeah.
But I'm like, what happens to a child when they're younger to not be able to assign feelings to themselves?
All right, well, you're a parent of a lot of kids.
Yes.
What happened when your kids couldn't express themselves clearly?
Yeah, exactly.
We say you have to name it to tame it. You got to label it to regulate it.
Yeah.
It's important. And what my research shows is that most people are just emotionally clueless about what they're feeling. For example, even college students. I teach at a big college, and all my students said, I'm stressed. So I had them journal about why they were stressed. Mm-hmm. What do you think the number one emotion was that they were actually feeling?
Overwhelmed?
Envious.
Oh.
Number one emotion was envy, because when they talked about what was causing them stress, what they were saying was, this one has more connections than I do. This one studies for less hours than I do. This one's got a better body.
I have to work 10 times harder to,
It was all social comparison. And so the reason why that's important is they're going for help. And the strategies that will help you manage your emotions will vary based on the feeling. If you're anxious, it's because you're feeling like the future is uncertain. That's why we get anxious. When we're stressed, it's because we got too many demands and we can't get it all done. We just got no resources. When we're envious, we're making endless social comparisons. And so thinking about you as a parent with your kids, imagine if they had that vocabulary and you were really clear about how they were feeling. it helps you guide them in terms of what to do about it.
Yeah, there's more answers for why you could possibly be feeling envious than there is to just like, I'm exhausted or I'm tired or I'm stressed out. What are some of the words that you hear the most that you can find deeper meaning towards? What are just some of the easiest words that people throw out?
Most people have a terrible vocabulary. So how are you feeling? Fine, good, meh, okay. That doesn't mean anything. And then also the buzzwords like anxiety and stress, they're not that clear anymore for people because there's anxiety, there's stress, there's fear, there's overwhelm, there's worry, and all these things are actually different.
It's interesting to be able to talk about this with young people because it's not thought about as a course study mainly. Like it's not...
This podcast, we're going to make that happen.
Absolutely. People oftentimes talk about those courses we needed in high school, whether it was learning about credit cards or how to manage a home. This, I feel like, is so important to start so young. And they really are starting young, at least with my kids and schools. But you were talking earlier about pushback. What else are they telling you in schools? What's the reasoning? It's
like crying. It's like therapy. If I have a bad day and I call my brother and say, hey, Dave, what do you think? He's not like, I can't talk to you about this. Go for therapy.
Yeah.
Life and school in particular, if we're talking about kids, you drop them off at school, they're in someone else's hands.
Yeah.
They're going to math, science, and language arts, and they have to deal with lunch, and they have physical ed and art and whatever else, and they're having feelings all day long.
Yeah.
And the question is, can they identify those feelings? And what if they get left out at lunch? Is it, figure it out?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Kids deserve to be safe in school, psychologically and physically. And if we can help them feel comfortable saying, I'm uncomfortable right now, or I'm feeling unsafe right now, or I need support, that's a real life skill. You talk about emotions as data, not drama. What does that look like in real life? Well, the way I think about it is that everybody should care about emotions for 5 big reasons. The first is emotions drive our attention. Think about it. How you feel is where you pay your attention. The second, emotions drive our decision making. I know people don't like to hear that. People like to think they're rational creatures. But let's be real. How we feel influences our judgments. Yes. The third is relationships. If I were here with you right now, I'm doing this kind of facial expression. This is a disgust face. Really? What does that make you feel immediately? I'm doing something wrong and I said something wrong. Yeah. Or like this guy's got a problem, like power issues, disrespect. By the way, that was not a good disgust face. Well, maybe I see a lot more disgusted faces. I was being gentle. I don't want to scare you. So how I express my emotions, how you express your emotions drives us to approach or avoid people. That's the relationship piece. The fourth is our mental and physical health, something I call our emotion regulation budget. It means the quality of your sleep, the nutrition that you eat, and it means your physical activity. In writing my book, I learned that they're all contributing to our healthy regulation. As a matter of fact, with parents, I do a lot of interviews, and they say, I want to be my best self, and I'm trying to be that kind, loving, caring person, but it's not working. And I say, well, tell me about your lifestyle. And 9 times out of 10, they have terrible sleep. And so their fuse is so short in the morning that they can't even access their best self. And I think that's the beauty of the work in terms of what I've written about around emotion regulation is that there's all these areas. There's our mindsets and beliefs. There's the language. There's the breathing and mindfulness work. There's the self-talk that we have to work on. There's that relationship piece we have to work on. And then there's that biology piece of our sleep and our nutrition and our activity. And then finally, I talk to executives about this. I say, where on your calendar does it say well-being? If you looked at my calendar, I have 15-minute blocks to go take that walk or 10-minute block to just be still. I try to schedule meetings that are only 15 minutes, not an hour. I try to have a lunch that I actually eat as opposed to Zoom, talking, and eating at the same time. Yeah. And I schedule time on the weekends to do things I love. I live in the country, and I have a land trust next to my house. Someone said, well, what do you love to do? I said, I love hiking. And they said, well, how many hikes did you take last year? I'm like, 2. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But if it's not on my calendar because of my lifestyle, I don't do it. So I urge people to find the time to create the space for well-being. And you know what does suck about those, for example, execs that don't take the time for wellness or well-being is
they see their success as something they've achieved without that. So when they look for employees, it's not necessarily something they think is deserved among their employees either, because they made it so far without having any of that. So it just trickles down to not being great.
I challenge them on that because it's how we define success. Do we want an employee who only, busts their ass to do well for you, or do we want someone who has well-being?
Yeah.
I think it can be both.
Happier people translate to happier employees. That's 100%. What I've always thought too. You created something called the Ruler Framework. What does it stand for, and how can we use it right now?
We're using it right now. We just don't know it.
Hell yeah. Done.
So Ruler is an acronym for the 5 skills of emotional intelligence. The first R stands for recognizing emotions in oneself and others. So I'm looking at your facial expressions, your body language, I'm listening to your vocal tone, I'm watching your behavior, and I'm trying to make the best guess at how you're feeling, because I'll never really know unless I ask you how you're feeling. And for myself, it's self-awareness. It's what's my heart rate right now? What's my body temperature? What are the thoughts that are going through my head? That's all recognition. The U is understanding emotion, understanding the causes and the consequences of emotion. Can I test you on this?
Yes.
What is the psychological difference between anger and disappointment?
A physical feeling.
It's tough, right? We're not taught how to distinguish these emotions. So we feel disappointment when we have an unmet expectation. Right? Everything is legit. It just didn't work out. We get angry when we perceive whatever happened as an injustice or unfair. So anger is about injustice. Disappointment is about unmet expectations. That's the kind of stuff we want people to learn. Because think about it, as a mom, your kid may come home and say, I hate you and I hate school. What do you think the kid is feeling when I say, I hate you?
Anger.
Right, exactly. But it could be anything.
Yeah.
We don't know because kids are taught to behave a certain way to get attention. It could be anger. It could be disappointment. It could be shame. Boys nowadays are taught to mask any of these kind of feminine emotions.
Yeah.
We need to get to know people and understand where their feelings are coming from. Otherwise, we can't label them properly, which is the L of Ruler, having that precise language. We were talking about anxiety versus stress and fear and overwhelm. They're differences, and they're important. That's the RUL of Ruler. RUL of Ruler is all about my self-awareness and my social awareness. How am I feeling? How are you feeling? Getting really accurate at that. The E and the R of Ruler is about expressing emotions. So knowing how and when to express emotions with different people, across context, and even culture. So the rules for expressing emotion are even different here than they are in Connecticut. There's slight differences. You go to other countries, completely different.
Yeah.
And then the R, the last R of Ruler, is regulating. What are those emotion regulation strategies that we can use to help ourselves manage emotions? And I think a big deal that we don't talk enough about is co-regulation. How am I emotionally supportive to my partner, to my kids, to my friends and family and coworkers? And so that's the Ruler framework. Most recently, I focused on that last R. So what happened, just briefly, the pandemic hit, and my mother-in-law, who is from Panama, my husband is Panamanian, and she came up for a wedding. My close friend got married on March 7th of 2020.
Wow. Didn't everything start April?
Everything started March 13th.
March, oh
so
God.
Irene, who I love and I speak Spanish, flew in around the 5th of March to go to this wedding. We thought she was going home around the 15th or 20th.
Oh, my God.
So guess how long she stayed with us?
6 months.
7 months. No flights to Panama.
Wow.
Long story short is we got into a huge fight one night, and she looked at me and she goes, "Are you really the director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence?" And I just looked at him like, "Not tonight, honey. Not tonight, dude." And like the whole house, everything blew up. You know, the dogs peed on the rug. It was just like, everybody was like freaking out. But I realized that I was the director of the freaking Center for Emotion. Like, Mark, regulate. Yeah.
Wait, that's such a funny thing to bring up, like on the airplane when someone's freaking out. Like, were you the fucking director of emotional intelligence? And you're like, yeah.
Actually, I am. And you need to take a deep breath. Anyhow, in that moment, I realized I sucked at regulating. And then I started to do research with thousands of people. And I found out that 90% of people reported never having learned anything about healthy emotion regulation. That's crazy. And so that's why I decided to write another book to help people learn the strategies.
Would you say that anybody in therapy is doing that kind of
Yes,
work?
for sure.
In a little bit, yeah.
But that's a very limited number of people who have access to therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm a preventionist. So my goal is to get less people to have to go for therapy. Give you an example. I gave a speech at the American Psychiatric Association. Thousands of child psychiatrists, and they came up to me after my talk and they said, Mark, great talk. You're a good presenter, but we need 10,000 more child psychiatrists given all the challenges in the world. I said, I don't think you were listening. My job is to put you out of business. That's what my goal is, to teach kids the skills they need so that we have less anxiety, less depression, less loneliness.
That's interesting. I've never heard of it that way because I live in Los Angeles and we are pushed everything under the sun at all times. But yeah, you hear more about people's need to go to therapy than for people's need to learn the skills.
Exactly. And the cost-benefit analysis alone. It's so much more cost-effective to teach people skills than to have to deal with the anxiety, depression epidemic.
In your class, do you talk culturally how things can be so different? Growing up in an Asian household where the levels of communication were just absolutely zero and you were told never discuss anything else. It was heartbreaking for the family and a shame and this, that. You discuss that?
Of course we do.
Wow.
And that's where I need to get curious about your life because your culture is embedded into your emotional life. And so if I just assume that you're like me, some dude from New Jersey who grew up in a white Irish Catholic neighborhood, I'm going to make a lot more mistakes.
Yeah. 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 It's hard because my dad, this big Norwegian German dude, very stubborn, hard-headed. And then my mother from Thailand, very soft, but gets very angry, but could never show it. Things just lived inside of her forever. She's the kind of person that just never forget or forgive. It made me a person that was more communicative about my emotions because I saw these two people that were so bad at articulating their feelings to one another that I promised myself, John is never not going to know how I feel. And that can be good or bad or frustrating. It can be all the things.
There's a science and an art to communicating.
There is, absolutely. So if someone is completely flooded with emotion, what do you think is the first step they can take to just take a step back and do it in a better way?
The first step is just to find a way to deactivate and they take that breath. But sometimes the breath is not enough. I have some really good strategies that I love. I have go-to strategies for when I'm angry, and they're self-talk strategies. There's a really cool technique in psychology. It's called psychological distancing. What that means is that you don't say I. You say your name. Mark, take the high road. Mark, you got this. Mark, you got bigger fish to fry. This is not that important to you. Mark, how much is this going to matter to you in a week from now? And if you throw out those phrases, but you say your name while you're doing it, it actually lowers the temperature and it helps you rethink it. And in general, will prevent you from doing or saying the thing that you're going to regret.
We have a street here, Benedict Canyon, my arch nemesis. I find myself that when I'm driving, I'm like, who is this person? I was just talking to my friends about it because they were joking. They were like, I'll never understand people that are driving that can be mad at something for an hour. I was like, I can. Sometimes something will happen to me on the road and I will fully come home, make dinner, and I'll still be thinking about it. I cannot get over certain little slights. And I'm like, is this because I have to let so much go in my life and have to get over so much? That maybe I need something to hold on to, but who is this person? What should I do? Somebody cuts me off, or you get literally the finger, or someone is doing something that is obviously wrong to do, whether it's making a new lane and thinking they're the only person on earth. I hate selfish drivers. I hate that kind of stuff. So when it happens, I find my chest gets red. Yeah. It's like a real thing for me, whereas so many other things are not a thing for me. What can I do in moments like that? Is there something I can do to laugh this off or something? Because right now my go-to is to be okay, maybe that was my dad driving. How would I want to speak to my father if he were driving like that?
That could work.
There other things I could do?
That works though. Keep saying it.
Okay. Yeah, I try.
But I would recommend the reappraisal work. Reappraisal, or more commonly known reframing. It's like, could I tell myself a different story about this?
Yes. Oh, that's what I always have to do. Yes.
And it works.
Yes.
And so, they must have something really pressing going on. For me, what I love to do, because I have made it like it's my new thing in life, is not to get activated in ways that are unnecessary. So I go back to that best self piece and I say, what would the center director do in this moment? Let it go. This is not worth my brain space. I do a lot of that. Like, I got more important things to think about.
Yeah. My friends and I joked about, I don't feel like this is much of a New York thing, but rage rooms. LA loves a rage room. They're all up and down Melrose. They basically like charge you for giving you some goggles and buying like a ton of shit from like the swap meet or the dump. It's like televisions, and like if you get lucky, there'll be a car in there, lots of light bulbs and plates. You go in with your friends, and it's kind of like LA's new escape room. Like, we're so full of escape rooms, but now we have rage rooms, and you take a bat or whatever tool and you just go to town on everything for like a half an hour, and people come out of it feeling very good from what I've heard. I haven't done it yet, but I've seen it because it's such a reality TV show thing right now. They make everybody
people go to the gym. I'd rather take a hike. I'd rather cook. I'd rather go for a walk. I'd rather do something fun on the beach.
Yeah. It also makes me feel like maybe we shouldn't be looking towards that kind of violence. Like, maybe that's not the way we want to process anger, is through like beating the shit out of something.
Just don't know why,
Yeah.
What happens when the rage room is closed?
I know. You write that emotions are contagious, which I completely agree with, by the way. How do we keep from catching somebody else's stress or bad mood?
Yeah, it's tough because, especially in family life, the power dynamics. If mommy comes home or daddy comes home stressed, the whole family is stressed. So you're out with the road rage and you're about to come back home, and you open the door to your house and you take a breath and you're like, how does mommy want to be seen tonight? And if you take that moment to do that, there'll be less negative contagion.
Yeah.
Because contagion is also for pleasant and positive emotions. I think you'd rather have contagious love and presence in your house. With that said, being aware of your emotions is really important. One of the other things that we teach people that I think is really fun is the mood meter we've been talking about. Well, imagine this. You've had road rage and you're irate about that. But before you walk into your next meeting in a business or with your husband or kids, you just take a breath and you say, how am I feeling right now? I'm pissed. Why are you pissed? Because the freaking drivers are driving me out of my mind. But when you attribute your feeling to its real cause, it will no longer have that influence in the future. That's pretty powerful. So just by pausing to name the feeling and remember why you're having the feeling, because then when your kid is like, mommy, 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 you're going to be in a worse mood. But if you can compartmentalize and like separate that, we know from the research that actually helps a lot.
It has helped to be able to think that like, oh my God, I'm probably reacting this way because I so often don't get to be angry. I don't have that space to like just get mad and unload and unleash. And honestly, John doesn't do enough for me to even like yell at him about anything. So I don't have that. Like, I either need like a worse husband or... So say somebody out there starts with 0.
Yeah.
Started at 0, which would be me, honestly. How long would you say it would take somebody to get to that place where they feel like they have grown into somebody with emotional stability, emotional intelligence?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think most people are ground zero because we didn't have this education. So nobody should feel bad about themselves because nobody got this training. I grew up in a family where my mom had terrible anxiety. And I would come home after being bullied and I'd be like, Mom, I don't want to go to school. I'm feeling, don't tell me all the details. I can't handle it.
Oh, wow.
She would have a breakdown from my feelings. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm the one having a breakdown here. And my father was kind of that tough guy. He'd say like, son, you got to toughen up. When I was in middle school, he said to me, son, I used to beat kids up like you.
Wow.
Dad, maybe you should go for some emotional intelligence training.
Are they still around?
They're both passed.
Oh, okay.
And they both were very proud of my work and actually got better because of my work. But, I mean, they didn't know. My father wanted me to be a tough guy. I have a 5th degree black belt, but I'm still not a tough guy.
Mentally tough.
Yes, there you go.
I always love to see like where people come from with their childhoods and their parents because we are so often taught to give them so much grace because of the way they were raised. And sometimes I feel like that's so unfair.
Yeah. I mean, everybody could have done better.
Yeah.
They didn't have an emotion education. Doesn't matter. You can still have done better.
Yeah.
I'll just give you the chapters because I think it's the process. We have to just have a different mindset about feelings. There's no such thing as a bad emotion. Can you accept that?
Yeah.
Great. So you've already gained emotional intelligence.
Thank God.
There's no bad emotion.
Yeah.
Emotions are data. Emotions are information. If I'm angry because of an injustice, just because I'm angry doesn't mean I have to go to the rage room and beat up people or objects. The attitude piece is really important. The second is you got to build your language skills. And you've been doing that. You got the app, really helpful. Just build your vocabulary, be more self-aware. Then you have to learn how to just be still, which is hard today. Those breathing exercises just to lower the temperature are really helpful. You're overwhelmed, just take a few deep breaths. It does reset your body and your mind. Then we have to work on our self-talk.
I bet you do.
Yeah, I know. And I have the same problem. It's funny. The other day I'm working out and I made this commitment. I wrote a whole chapter in my book on cognitive regulation skills and positive self-talk and reappraisal and all these things. And I'm doing my crunches and I'm looking at my body and I'm like, you are never going to have a six-pack. And I'm like, you just wrote a chapter about it. It's amazing how the self-saboteur is always around.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that most of our negative self-talk comes from gaslighting. Most of us, we're taught to think certain things about ourselves because of what other people said about us. You're too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, you're too dark, you're too light, you're too masculine, you're too feminine. Nobody teaches us anything about self-regulation or how to sift through that stuff. And then we start believing it. But one of the most helpful strategies is around social support. So I've really been interested in this because my first book is called Permission to Feel. And it was a story about my childhood and the science about this uncle of mine who was my Uncle Marvin, who just helped me get out of my traumatic childhood. Not by doing anything other than being...
Your dad's brother?
My mom's brother.
Okay.
He was a middle school teacher by day and a trumpet player at night. A really creative, amazing human being. My whole career is dedicated to him because he saw me and created the conditions for me to thrive. Now, I have been on this journey to find out how many people have an Uncle Marvin or an Aunt Maria. How many people have that one person in their childhood that creates the conditions for them to be that true self? What percentage of people do you think say yes?
Oh my God. I know I personally don't have an Uncle Marvin. 20%?
Depending on where you are, the average is 30%, 35%. Okay. But that means 65 to 70% of the adults walking around this world right now did not feel they had anyone to talk to about their feelings growing up. So I've taken the research a step further. And I asked thousands upon thousands of people, tell me the characteristics of these people. If you had one, what were the characteristics?
Yeah.
And if you didn't...
Could it be parents or would it always be someone outside?
Actually, so of the 35%, this is interesting research, half of them say it was their mom. Only 2% say it was their dad.
Well, yikes.
The rest is kind of, somebody else. The characteristics, though, no matter where I've gone across the world to do this research, there are 3 primary characteristics of the people who give us permission to feel. First, non-judgmental. Second, good listener. Third, shows empathy and compassion. That's it. Now, the reason why I think that's so important is that in the thousands of people that I've studied, no one says smart. No one says problem solver. No one says fixer. And that tells me that what we want in life is safety and trust. Safety and trust is what we're all looking for. And this, by the way, applies to the workforce as well. I've done this study not with parents and kids, but with people in the workforce. How would you describe the emotional ally at work? Non-judgmental, good listener, who shows empathy and compassion. I do a lot of parent work and teaching parents the skills of emotional intelligence. As a matter of fact, I just did one yesterday. And I was meeting with hundreds of parents in Colorado. I said, what gets in the way of you being this person for your child?
Yeah.
Fear. People say, I'm afraid. I'm actually afraid.
Yeah, what's the fear?
That they're going to actually learn how their kid really feels and they're not going to know what to do about it. Guess what the other one is? Time. I don't have the time to be this person for my own child. I think we need to make changes.
Yeah. God, what a wonderful thing to be somebody's Uncle Marvin.
You're not kidding.
In life. What an honor that would be. Like if I were on my deathbed and someone looked at me and said, you were that person, that's so incredible. And I think it's better if it's not your parent.
One of my favorite stories is I got a letter from a 94-year-old man who had read my work. And he said, I just want to let you know that I read your work and I feel like I would have been a better husband, a better parent, had I learned about this growing up. And he just wanted to thank me at 94 for finally giving him, talk about, can you learn this stuff? He's like, I now can be a different person starting today at 94.
Wow.
And I wrote him back and I said, thank you for taking the time to write me.
Yeah.
And I said, I just feel so gratified that I was able to support you and help you in any way.
Yeah.
And he writes me back. And guess what he says? He says, no, Mark, thank you for being my Uncle Marvin.
Oh, God.
It's like, all right.
Oh, that's everything.
Yeah.
Man, I love too that people still feel like I personally, I have an older father and he's stopped looking to change probably 20 years ago. You know, it just was never going to happen for him. But how beautiful that somebody still wanted that. And I don't feel like I gave people permission to be my Uncle Marvin. I wasn't open enough.
That's the thing, though. It's not your responsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the adults have to figure this out and create and be that first person for that. What's interesting, so going back to this Uncle Marvin thing, one of my closest friends came with me to one of my speeches. It was in New York City, and he's in town. And I'm like, you never heard me speak. Come on. It's a big, it's at the Hilton. And so he comes to hear me speak. And at the end, he's like, I hated your presentation. I'm like, you hated my presentation? He's like, because I didn't have an Uncle Marvin. Now I realize that's why I'm not, right? And now I realize why I don't have life satisfaction.
You can be somebody's.
Well, you just stole the line. So I said to him, and he got really upset. He's like, maybe that's why I'm not that clear about what I want to be in my life. Because my research shows that if you have the Uncle Marvin, you have greater purpose and meaning, greater life satisfaction. You're healthier physically, mentally, sleep better at night. I mean, really important things about your life. And so I said, at some point, you got to be your own Uncle Marvin. You got to look in the mirror and be non-judgmental, listen to your heart, and give yourself some self-compassion. But here's something else that's really powerful. This happened as a wake-up call to me. So I'm giving a speech. I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm in Westchester, New York. And I'm giving a speech to superintendents of schools. And I'm telling the Uncle Marvin story. And this one superintendent jumps out of his seat. He's like, you're talking about Marvin Moore, the 6th grade social studies teacher from Monticello, New York? I'm like, I am. He's like, Mark, you're not going to believe this, but your Uncle Marvin was my Uncle Marvin.
Oh.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, your uncle was my 6th grade teacher 45 years ago.
Wow.
And he's the reason why I'm in education. So I said, I got to finish my speech, but can you stay after and I can interview you? This guy blew my mind what he remembered about my uncle's facial expressions, the way he spoke, the way he taught, everything. This guy looked at me and he goes, it's pretty clear the profound influence your uncle has had in your life and your career. I said 100%. And then he said to me, so Mark, for whom are you an Uncle Marvin? And it was really eye-opening for me about paying it forward.
Yeah.
And so what the research shows is that when we are that Uncle Marvin for someone, when we show up with non-judgment, good listening skill, and empathy and compassion, we can see how it impacts people. We feel it. And by doing that for someone else, you actually benefit.
Yeah.
And here's something even greater. When you do it in a family and everybody observes it, they benefit too. So there's a lot of benefits to being an Uncle Marvin.
And now for the toolkit. Each episode, our guests distill their expertise into practical and actionable insights. Today, Marc shares his meta moment process for self-regulation.
I thought it would be fun to take you through the whole meta moment process.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is going to be a little tough.
Okay.
Chrissy, I'd love for you to think about a time in the last week or two where your worst self came out. Maybe you said something or did something that you're like, ugh, I shouldn't have done that. Can you think of one?
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Well, the beauty of this meta moment technique is that you can make a new movie. So I'm going to ask you now to think about that experience. And I'm going to ask you to really just go back to how you responded and what it felt like. You don't have to share any of this. Mm-hmm. Okay. Step one is you got to be aware that you're having the feeling. You feel the tension. You start having those angry thoughts. And that's a signal to not react, but to stop and pause and take that breath. But the unique piece of the meta moment is something we call seeing your best self. So I'm going to push you on this now.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to take a moment and think about Chrissy, the mom, who is the absolute best version of herself. And I want you to give me 3 adjectives that you would use to describe that mom.
Creative.
Okay.
Present. Fun.
Nice. You want to add another one?
Loving.
Love it. So repeat those. Creative.
Creative, fun, loving, present.
Nice. So imagine the next time one of your kids is triggered or triggering you, you're activated, you're like, I want to ring his head. I'm the winner. I'm the mother. It's my show. It's my house. You take a breath and you say, no, Chrissy, you are creative. You are fun. You are present. You are loving. I promise you'll respond in a different way. Okay. Now I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath. And now I'm going to ask you to activate that best self of yours. That fun, creative, loving, present mom. Can you bring that person into your being? Just think about Chrissy with those characteristics.
Yes.
Now, through that lens, can you think of another way you could have responded?
Yes.
That's it. I mean, I think it's so powerful to be able to go through a process proactively. So the next time that you get activated in a similar or different situation, instead of going automatic, you take that breath, you think about your best self, and then through that lens, you respond. I promise you it will make a difference.
That's great. It's such a good form of training because once you see it work, you're kind of like so blown away by the fact that it worked.
There you go.
This is all I got to do now? I actually can't wait for the next time that it happens because I know it'll happen soon. But what is a meta emotion?
Put simply, it's our feelings about our feelings. So I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I've been bullied a lot, and I felt shame. I felt fear. And the question I've always had for myself is, why didn't I share that fear, that was happening? And it's because I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed that I was afraid of the bullies. And so you see, you have feelings about feelings. We all have those feelings. I'll give you something strange even too. As I was writing my book, I started thinking about my relationship with happiness. And I realized it was way more complicated than I thought. That I'm actually uncomfortable with being happy sometimes. When I get applause at a presentation, I feel it and I get like a little uncomfortable. And I try to unpack why. And I realized it was because as a kid who had this bullying problem, if I had a day that I was in a great mood, someone would say, oh, I'm going to knock it out of you. And so there's like this fear of actually being with the happiness.
Yeah, because it's only going to be taken away.
And so we have to learn not only to regulate our feelings, but we have to learn how to regulate our feelings about our feelings.
Thank you so much for being here in my bedroom today, getting to talk about feelings and emotions with you and getting to also connect it to my children and how we can all in our own ways be Uncle Marvin. I loved learning from you, so thank you so much.
I love speaking with you.
Marc, I want to thank you for joining me today on Self-Conscious. Marc Brackett's Dealing with Feeling is available on Audible. Until then, tune in, turn on, and feel better. This is Chrissy Teigen, and you've been listening to Self-Conscious, an Audible original podcast. This has been an Audible original, produced by Audible, Q Code, and Huntley Productions. Hosted by Chrissy Teigen, written and executive produced by Jimmy Jelinek. Executive producers for Q Code, Shen Yen Hu, and Alexa Gabrielle Ramirez. Executive producer for Huntley Productions, Chrissy Teigen. Executive producer for Audible, Stacey Creamer. Recorded and engineered by Ben Milchev. Filmed by Bridger Clements. Production coordinator, Brian Coulter. Edited, mixed, and mastered by Ben Milchev. Head of Creative Development at Audible, Kate Navin. Chief Content Officer, Rachel Giazza. Copyright 2024 by Audible Originals, LLC. Sound recording copyright 2025 by Audible Originals, LLC.